at multiple sources, 2 or 3 witnesses. When the sons of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and fair daughters were born to them, that the sons of the great saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and painted and curled, walking with revelation of the flesh and with the imaginations of wickedness, that they took them wives of all who pleased them. And Yahweh said by him, starting at verse 15, which the book of Jubilees, in case you're new, was also found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Over 15 copies in the Hebrew was complete. Jubilees 4:15, and in the second week of this 10th Jubilee, Mahalalel took unto him to be his woman Dinah, the daughter of Barakiel, the daughter of his father's brother, and she bore him a son in the 3rd week in the 6th year, and he called his name Yared in the English, or in the normal translation, Jared. For in his days the angels of Yahweh descended on the earth. I'm so glad they make it much clearer in this text. The angels of Yahweh descended on the earth, those who are named the Watchers. We're going to talk a lot about the Watchers tonight. That they should instruct the children of men, and that they should do judgment and uprightness in the earth. So the Watchers were were supposed to be the judges and the instructors of men into righteousness. However, they saw these beautiful women, and they said, no, we're going to transgress Elohim and we're going to do what we want. They followed the lead of the original rebel, which we'll talk about here shortly. And in the 11th Jubilee, so how far we're going to read till verse 23. And in the 11th Jubilee, Yared took to himself a woman, and her name was Baraka, daughter of Rasual, a daughter of his father's brother, in the 4th week of this Jubilee, and she bore him a son in the 5th week, in the 4th year of the Jubilee, and called his name Enoch. And he was the first among men that are born on the earth who learned writing and knowledge and wisdom, and who wrote down the signs of heaven according to the order of their months in a sefer, in a book, which is what we're going through, right? That men might know the seasons of the years according to the order of their separate months. And he was the first to write a testimony, and he testified to the sons of men among the generations of the earth, and recounted the weeks of the Jubilees, and made known to them the days of the years, and set in order the months, and recounted the Shabbatot, the Sabbaths of years, as we made them known to him. And what was and what will be, he saw in a vision of a sleep, right? So he saw prophecy, as it will happen to the children of men throughout their generations until the day of judgment. I am so looking forward. This is towards the end of the book in the 80s, but Enoch literally dreams a dream, and it's the entire world from beginning to end in one single dream. So the book of Enoch, it tells us the end from the beginning. He saw and understood everything, and wrote his testimony, and placed the testimony on earth for all the children of men and for their generations. And in the 12th Jubilee, in the 7th week thereof, he took himself a woman, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Danel, the daughter of his father's brother. In the 6th year, in this week, she bore him a son, and called his name Methuselah. And he was moreover with the angels of Elohim these 6 jubilees of years, and they showed him everything which is on the earth and in the heavens, the rule of the sun. He wrote down everything. He testified to the Watchers, listen, who had sinned with the daughters of men, for these had begun to unite themselves so as to be defiled with the daughters of men, and Enoch testified against them all. And that's what we're going to begin to read tonight, is this testimony against these angels who rebelled against the Most High Elohim. And he was taken from amongst the children of men, and we conducted him into the Garden of Eden in majesty and honor. And behold, there he writes down the condemnation and judgment of the world and all the wickedness of the children of men. So Jubilees confirms the book of Enoch is a true account as well. Let's go down a little further. Actually, really quick, before we go here, I want to show you something that's interesting. The book of Yashar also connects to this. Remember, the angels of Yahweh descended on the earth, those who are named the Watchers, that they should instruct the children of men, and they should do judgment and uprightness in the earth. So they were supposed to be the judges and the instructors of men. Yashar chapter 4, verse 18. And their judges and their rulers went to the daughters of men, and took their wives by force from their husbands, according to their choice. The sons of men in those days took from the cattle of the earth, and the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the air, and taught the mixture of animals. These are chimeras, the same things that are going on right now. I'm sorry. The mixture of animals of one species with the other, in order therewith to provoke Yahweh. And Elohim saw the whole earth, and it was corrupt, for all flesh have corrupted its way on the earth, all men and animals. So they were mixing DNA, they were crossbreeding. The angels were crossbreeding with women and creating giants, which we'll read about here shortly. So interesting things here to take a look at for sure. So now let's look at Jubilees chapter 5. We're going to read verses 1 through 7. And it came to pass, when the children of men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the angels of Elohim saw them on a certain year of this Jubilee, that they were beautiful to look upon. And they took themselves women of all whom they chose, and they bore unto them the sons, and they were Nephilim. These are the giants. These are the half-breeds, the half angel, half men. These are the giants, the physical giants upon the earth. So here's another witness confirming this same thing. So now we have, what, 4 witnesses saying the same thing.
Record solution enables you to hire, manage, and pay top talent across.
Take a look at the scriptures from a non-religious standpoint to see if there is truth to it or not. There were a few questions on my journey that I wanted answered that may help guide you into making one of the most important decisions of your life. And it might just be what you've been looking for all your existence. My journey that I wanted answered that may help guide you into making one of the most important decisions of your life. And it might just be what you've been looking for all your existence. Does physical evidence exist in our natural world that proves the scriptures are more than just stories? Do other historical writings contradict or corroborate the scriptural account of a worldwide flood? Does the evolution theory disprove the Bible? Although we have 4 different accounts of the life of Messiah that line up, do any non-religious writings of him exist? What are the Dead Sea Scrolls, and do the findings there lend any credibility to the scriptures? Were the scriptures written by nomadic goat herders who were unlearned? Do the answer to these questions bring implications? It's an interesting time to be alive. We find ourselves at the forefront of many firsts in these last few generations. Think about it. Some of us are the first to grow up with the internet and cell phones and many other life-changing technologies. Our parents were the first to see computers emerge, and our grandparents air travel and automobiles. Technologically speaking, the world is completely different than it was from just 150 years ago. With this ever-shifting realm, we also have seen the same with beliefs. Considering theories like evolution and the Big Bang have only been in our school systems the past 70 years or so, and are taught as fact, with this, we have seen an enormous drop in those who believe in God, because it directly contradicts the teaching within the scriptures. According to a recent Pew Research study, only 56% of Americans believe in the God as described in the Bible, while others either don't believe at all or believe in some other random mystical source. Are people better off this way? As society continues to march away from the belief and principles of our Creator, we will see more depravity take shape in our culture, as we can clearly see now. Society has gotten worse over the past 150 years or so, and history will prove the same. With all this being said, regardless of what science attempts to provide as absolute truth, we will see that believing their side of things takes more faith than believing what the scriptures say, as nature and history cannot lie.
Today, it's from goo to you by way of the sea.
The scriptures, which I believe to be the word of God, is what I've come to know as the truth, and is corroborated by time in our natural world, which is unalterable, and thereby a strong witness, to prove that the scriptures are the divinely inspired word of God and is not just fables or feel-good stories. I want to start with physical evidence. Earlier, 7 questions were asked, and in my opinion, the answer to these will need no interpretation, but the proof will be in the pudding, as they say. So,
Hi.
does physical evidence exist in our natural?
Whoops. Okay. Peace. How are you, David T. Bar? How are you today? shown the documentary of the demons, nettlings, and times. It's a mixture, but also look at the skies. This is Scotland. Just saw comet in the sky. Sky watching as well. This is I watched. Oh wow! Did you? You uploaded another video. Oh, let me check that out. Let me just sidetrack because I find that fascinating. He's got a very good insight. A few months ago, I've just woke up. I've laid into what's the time in UK? It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So let's have a look at what he uploaded. They always keep describing me to you. Let me just put it in. Yeah, it just covered up by the cloud, literally seconds ago. And do you know Against the Grain? I'll find that in a minute. Against the Grain YouTube channel. He lives in Croatia in Europe, and he always captures what I see. When I get woken up so early on a live weather cam, I see what he sees. He does a breakdown of the mathematical models on his computer, and then he does a live stream about it. And I'm thinking, what the hell did he see what I saw? Let me check out this. Yeah, are you UK as well? Yeah. I don't. The true origins. This is why I'm doing this particular subject of what's it started to go back to. Is the true origins. I mean, today, 25th of 12th, 2020. Well, it's 2021 now. But the true date of Christmas is pagan rooted in ancient history and the rituals, and it's linked to the dark occultists. So I don't myself go along with it at all. Sadly, those that are not aware of the origins, and they're pressurised into celebrating it with friends and family, it is to have them. And the mainstream, I mean, goes back a long time, doesn't it? And so, like, it's like it's mainly a banking holiday, really, the origins, as well. In sort of like, for example, in England, the banking system. It's if you look at what the terminology is of banking, bank holiday, it results back to commerce and business. Yeah, well, anyway, I won't cover that subject right now. Hi, Andrew. Hello, how are you? From West Yorkshire. You're in North Yorkshire, and you're in West Yorkshire. Andrew, hello. I'm alone with Bob, my cat. Oh, bless your heart. I love cats. I have a friend coming over later. That's good. Do you know something? You're never alone. Nobody's alone. Our spirits are never alone. I went through that years when my kids were little. If you go back on my videos, you will see I did a stream. I fell asleep doing that stream early hours of the morning. And I was covering a guy in Australia called Still Human, he's called Wayne. And I was on another stream with somebody in America. So the time difference, in Australia and America. So of course it's just like I lost a lot of sleep doing that. And it's interesting people's take on the pressures in society of people feeling that they need to be with friends if they're gone, or family when you don't get on with them, and the commercialism and the monetary system. And I'll give you one example. Yesterday, I don't buy into all this commercialism, and so I just got my basic things I need, just a bit of things, because from January in England, if you don't think there's going to be another lockdown, well, be prepared. There's a lot I can't talk freely what I know firsthand, and documents I found, because they just give me another strike. So on the channel, I'll get singled out again. So yeah, my other channel, which has got the facts of the evidence, they got a strike, and I connected the dots on that subject. The change in our DNA, the human DNA, the transhumanism, the God gene, the anyone doesn't know about genealogy, well, my family bloodline links back to, in history, to Babylon era. Uh, People doesn't believe in Jesus, fine, but when you go back and research Book of Enoch, falling to demons, what was the subject or the headline of the stream? Uh, if you have some kind of upbringing in a religious text context, then it might just, you know, if you're open up to, there's no attacks on Freemasonry per se, because a lot of ordinary people don't realise until they get to third degree level that what they've sold out, what they've signed up to, and what the members of the occult in with the Freemasonry is mainly darkness. And I have first-hand knowledge of all this from years ago, and sadly, that I'm not knocking religion, please don't get me wrong, people that are religious, it's up to you what you want to believe in, but this is just awareness, point of view for those that might or might not want to know. And then you can't separate all this because it's all interlinked in history to date. It's like once you have that journey of enlightenment, and you're on that journey, and suddenly you realise everything you've ever been taught or know is completely turned on its head, and here we are of the end of days, in the sense of that the financial crash is coming, if not already here, and the change in the genetics of the human body to turn it into the future. The documents I've come across is just demonic, okay? And it's nothing to fear. It really is. It's nothing to fear because we are souls, are spiritual souls. So whether you believe whatever mainstream type religion, everyone's just a living being soul. You know, we have bodies, but we are spiritual. And yeah, the changing though, through genetics and artificial sympathetic materials to create this like a super soldier, okay, the superhuman, the complete takeover of humanity you can ever imagine. This is why it's so important to keep grounded and just keep going every minute of the day, no matter what is thrown at you, because the powers that be, I'll call it, do cover up the truth of what's above us, in not just like sky level, low level. It's not just to do with the atmosphere. It's not just to do with comets and the planetary bodies, the Nibiru, the Wormwood. It is all in. It's linked together. It's not separate. And for years, you know, you got the underground military bunkers worldwide, and the occult is well organized through the 13 bloodline families on the demonic side in centuries ago. So throughout genealogy, throughout to date, a long, long time, throughout their bloodlines, they've created this whole matrix of the whole grid of the planet Earth in everything you can imagine, but yet subtly. and over time. So here we are now. People are fighting back. What is not literally physically, but they're doing their own ways of good living, of getting the truth out. That there is the civil aspect where the unrest will be a magnitude on this earth, where it's preparations. Do not ever get distracted by the wars with Russia, Ukraine, all that going on. Yes, be prepared spiritually and practically as best you can. Why they want to get people like focus on Christmas, like for England. Oh yes, not having a lockdown. Look what they're doing in Scotland and Ireland. For example, I can't quote in different parts of the world because I don't live there. But the fact is that when you go into alternative media, Telegram app, the different groups, people sharing worldwide, their own countries, their own realities, what's happening. It is not a pretty picture. So hence the subject today, focusing on this, on the book Enoch, on the subject within that is the fallen angels, on the demonic realm. And if you don't believe there is a spiritual battle, have some kind of sense of that. Well, anyway, there's enough of me talking for a moment. Just going to. We live in an upside down world, and yes, they've just done a 3-week stimulation drill for cyber attack. There you go. Well said. Jesus died upon the cross at the age of 33. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Some clip of huge world videos. Yeah, I've been watching those too, Andrew. I'll be pottering in the kitchen listening. Yeah, blessings to you too. Yeah, hope you have a nice meal. Jesus, yeah, I'm just catching up briefly. It's horrific what's happening, not just us, but everyone. And this is where this enlightenment, this spiritual awakening is happening, because there's such a demonic, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife, so to speak, when you realise the attacks, the spiritual attacks, in many shapes and forms. I know about that too well, first-hand knowledge. So you've got innocent kids, parents, families. I mean, this is all by the 13 bloodline families by design to create, conquer and divide. And the documents I found a while ago, there is one video on this channel you might want to dig into and find. And before my computer got hacked, before I lost the website and the archives, it showed the deep population. And this is going back a long time ago. The documents I found is we're going back to 2003, 2004. And when I was reading through one document, 2003, this lady, she escaped from the occult with her 2 kids, and she explained everything, detailed, how not just in England, but every town and city, all the world wide around, is basically well organised by these occultists. And if there are children having children in the underground dumps and bases, I won't repeat the demonic side, what they do, because it's not for me. There's other people who can go into it, and if you want to research that subject and why they do that, because this is this period where the demonic realm is trying to fight and take over, and I suppose you could call it anyone that believes in the Creator, whatever word you want to use, Jesus, Joshua, Creator, whatever title. So I don't put a label on the spirituality. It's deliberately trying to push down on those and get rid of the God gene, so there's no spirituality, there's no emotions, there's no feelings, to turn the human individual into non-thinking, very compliant to the occultist way of their future. It's a bit like a movie, actually, in the sense of, what's it called now? That futuristic movie, very good movie to watch. But if you watch this symbolism and realise the script that was made in any sci-fi movie, for example, The Fifth Element, and just imagine that futuristic world with the Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, um, the advancement in technology. That's just one. And then you've got the Majority Report. You've got Skynet. You've got the pre-crime script within the movie. Then you've got the brain interface binded into a movie, and a TV program online called Upload. Is uploading this consciousness and subconsciousness of the brain to D-Wave. This is reality, the D-Wave. The supercomputers are brains, human brains. For those humanists that wants to live forever, that don't believe in any spirituality. Sadly, there are people out there that's falling for that. That's chasing the golden apple. That's chasing the golden dream they believe is money, power, jobs, best cars, houses. I've been there. It doesn't make you happy. It might make life comfortable, but when it's gone and financial crashes goes, what are you going to do? So unfortunately, if you look back on the wonderful videos out there of bushcraft skills, you go back in, for example, English history, into the period where we didn't have no technology. What do people do? They survived and they knew how to forest food, natural herbs. There's so much in our past and history. It's not just England, is it? But this is where it's all going back to again. And this is where people are massively, in a wonderful way, waking up to what is really important. And it's not about your technology on the Internet of Things, the trackable of everything. The in England, the track and trace. You know, why do you think that is called track and trace technology policies? So as I said, I'll just go back and look at this. The new film, Don't Look Up, a new yes. Somebody mentioned that to me yesterday, about the new movie, and in their stream actually, called the new Matrix movie. I haven't seen it yet myself. I'd love to see someone's breakdown on that movie, but we are in that Matrix. It's simulated reality, isn't it? Have you seen it yourself? It's real dark what goes on, and down there, I'm fully aware. Yeah, that's good, Andrew. I'm just going to look at some of Cliff Hughes's videos on BitTube. Talk about yes. This is where the alternative platform comes into handy, doesn't it? Yeah, we live in an upside down world. They just done a 3-week simulation job for cyber attack. This is it. They got to do, they don't have to, but they will do the cabal and their puppets, I'll call it on a string, will create this financial crash. And for those in a way that is awakened, and you get the sense that one is going to be in a position to help those others that are not awakened, that are going to panic, that are going to freak out. For those that are taking a certain offer, medical offer, for example, those not aware that may have a detrimental effect on their health, maybe. May or may not. Not saying it is, I'm just saying just in case. Those that are aware and getting information out on different platforms of what's going on, which I can't mention here, is the fact that awakened individuals have knowledge and have practical skills. We're going to be the ones, not just me, but others out there, going to be the ones to be able to help them when the civil unrest will just be unprecedented, and this won't just be in one place. They want the chaos, conquer and divide to create the ultimate takeover of. It's mainly a lot to do with the brain and the consciousness, subconsciousness. And anyway, let me just go and check that. The track and trace is nothing more than a 38 billion money grab. That's, yes, smartphones, the smart tech already trap people. There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Predictive programming. Spot on. Spot on. Spot on. Exactly. It's just something I wanted to check. A video. Just bear with me a minute. Because there are people ahead of their time as well, a long time ago actually, predicted all this. So I'm looking for I haven't checked this video out for a long time actually. No, the Beavers. He's in America, so I believe. So I'm just checking out. Yeah, the Nostradamus. 9 hours ago. Ain't people naughty people? It symbolises together, isn't it? Supports. Which one? The most recent one? Let me just have a look. Yeah, 9 hours ago. Amazon terms of use, zombie apocalypse, and a new. It's amazing how he's done his videos, the way they take on it. Okay. The non-UFO video, too. The false alien invasion and the false UFO invasion. The hand in the cloud, the true divine story. Yeah. Okay, so.
Good evening, everybody. Not Beaver. Notice it was Christmas Eve already. I don't remember what time it is anymore. Just tried to take a break from things. I was recording another video I just finished. 9 gigs, so that's about 5 hours or something. All to do with the devil, but we'll keep that till after Christmas. On that note, I went to relax for 5 minutes and I see Alba Weinman just popped up a new video just now. Of course, like everybody just working through Christmas, like it doesn't matter. Crap when you see this. So this is my Christmas wishes for you guys. I just wanted to say hello and tell you I'm still alive here. I'm just working. But I want to take you back in time quickly to the ant people of the Hopi. One of the most intriguing Hopi legends involves the ant people, who were crucial to the survival of the Hopi. Not just once, but twice. The so-called First World was apparently destroyed by fire, possibly some sort of volcanism, asteroid strike, or CME from the sun. The Second World was destroyed by ice, or a pole shift, exactly what the Pleiadians said was the downfall of Atlantis. After the Great Flood hit 12,500 years ago, about 1,500 years later, the poles of the Earth flipped over, trashed the whole planet.
Yeah.
But they were taken underground by the ant people. One of the wild legends, crazy talk, impossible. Up until modern times, that was all crazy talk. I really had to share this for a Christmas giggle.
In the library.
No, I'm not in the library.
All right. So I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and I'd like for you to just follow this feeling of moving towards that mountain. 1, 2, and 3. Where are you?
This image is for dramatic effect. Trust me.
Yeah, he is a smart guy.
I'm on the path and I'm walking towards the mountain.
Yes. And as you're walking on this path, do you have a body?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Look down at the path and see if you notice any feet.
I don't notice feet.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So keep walking. What is it that you need to see at this mountain?
It's very barren.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There's not a lot of vegetation. It's a very majestic mountain.
Mm-hmm. Connect with your feelings. What do you feel as you're walking towards the mountain?
Yes, Stephen. Yeah, Stephen. Yeah. 7's falling straight, isn't it?
I have a sense of
It's
apprehension.
a shout out to him.
Yes. Keep going. Tell me more about this.
Exactly. It is horrific. Exactly.
It just doesn't feel right.
Doesn't
Awake
feel
more
right.
case.
Keep going.
I've got a strike on it. I can't stream or upload for 2
I still
weeks.
feel like I should walk
So I'm
towards the
using
mountain.
this channel.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Keep going. What happens next? Yes. Water. Mm-hmm. What kind of water do you see?
Like a lake.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Keep going.
So I'm just looking into the lake, into the water.
Yes.
And the waves.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Tell me more.
I'm trying to see my reflection.
Mm-hmm. So I don't want you to try to see. I want you to just know. If you knew, even if you think you're making it up, what is this body that's looking in? What do you imagine to look like?
See, when Alba brings this up, I know she would do that to clear the filters of the human mind. What we were told about reality and creation versus what the soul knows are two completely different worlds. In this world, we were led to believe there's only one life to live. The ant people can't possibly exist. You're going to realize that you were the ant people. That's what is about to drop on you right here. This is happening.
Without seeing your reflection.
I have antenna.
Mm-hmm. Good. Tell me more.
And I see through the antenna.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So your vision is through the antenna?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. What does the rest of you feel like?
It's a bit slow to
What is the
stream.
size? Are you tall or small?
I need to see it.
Oh, I'm average.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'm Roundhead. Ants keeps on the mind.
Yes.
Right, that's hypnotising. Hold on. He's saying the source video used the art of being. Let me just go down what he just portrays. Let's have a look. God's divine plan in the conversation with God. Let's have a look at that one.
With 30 years experience.
I'll go back to what I was going to show, which is important, and I'll go back to that one. 43 UK. It's also important to just observe. It's a documentary I'm playing in the background.
The British Academy of Interior Design.
Make sure it's the right one.
There is an ancient Indian saying that something lives only as long as the last person who remembers it. My people have come to trust memory over history. While history serves only those who seek to control it, those who would douse the flame of memory in order to put out the dangerous fire of truth. Beware these men, for they are dangerous themselves and unwise.
Hidden deep beneath the canyon walls of the New Mexico desert lies a mysterious ancient city, a place of magic rituals, astronomical alignments, and supernatural legends. This massive city was lost for centuries when its occupants seemingly vanished overnight, nearly 1,000 years ago. To this day, archaeologists and historians are unable to piece together exactly what happened here. So we traveled into the ruins, looking for any clues that will help us understand the true history of the canyon. What we soon would discover is a history far more shocking than anyone can believe. So join us for a unique look into Chaco Canyon, home of the Ancient Ones.
The Anasazi were an ancient culture that lived in the Colorado Plateau. No one knows why they built their fortified cities, but we do know that their entire civilization ended suddenly when they abandoned their homes. Some have speculated that the nature spirits worshipped by the Anasazi became destructive demons when the community ceased to maintain their sacred laws. These beings terrorized the population, often appearing to children before taking them away forever.
The ancient Anasazi people had superior knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, ritual magic, and some claim they also possessed supernatural abilities.
During research for our best-selling book, On the Path of the Immortals, I was given the unprecedented opportunity, really, to sit down with and to film Dr. Don Mose Jr., a third-generation medicine man who I met with for a large part of the day during our investigation, and he told me the oldest legends of the Anasazi, which he had been told by his great-grandfather, who likewise had been told by his ancestors, which included stories of the Anasazi turning to sorcery, to sacrifice, cannibalism, after they had lost their way and were driven insane by a reptilian creature, which they depict with a halo above his head, of all things. Images of that being are, by the way, included in the petroglyphs. And I believe that they likely attest to the fallen reptile or reptiles of biblical fame, which also misled humanity. He began drawing in the sand on the floor and reciting the first part of the story of the ancient Anasazi and how it had been repeated to him by his father and grandfather, who had also been told by their ancestors and so on, a legend that Dr. Mose alone had undoubtedly repeated hundreds of times before at the Navajo school. Now, since it was obvious to us that this Navajo historian was really indifferent to our camera and our recording plans, and in fact, I could tell he was really uncomfortable with us putting him on film, but thankfully he let us proceed nevertheless. But I sat there and listened respectfully as he proceeded for nearly 2 hours to describe to this white man what's only ever been allowed a few times in history before, and that is the legendary stories of creation, of giants, of a great flood, of a reptilian deceiver, all from the voice of the nation's top medicine man. Dr. Mose even sang to us in the antiquated tongue of what I would call Old Testament history, paralleled in their earliest antiquity using the Navajo language.
For centuries, tribal elders have been telling stories of unbelievable supernatural events that occurred in the canyon. Events so shocking, the ancient ones carved pictures depicting these events into the canyon walls as a semi-permanent record of what happened here. The 15-mile-long canyon is home to over a dozen large complexes. The largest, named Pueblo Bonito, has over 800 rooms and sections that were over 5 stories tall. Tucked away on a cliff face, hidden behind Pueblo Bonito, lies one of the canyon's most telling secrets. 3 feet carved into the mountainside, with 6 toes each. Are these 6-toed carvings showing?
Just pause that for a minute. I can't show you this because I tapped my phone. I know the one can hear me, but they tapped my phone as soon as I started streaming. What did I just delete? Hold on. Oh, I just got a troll in here, so I'll push that on timeout. Don't know who Bobby is. Right. How are you? Yeah, I got a phone hack, so I'll pause that for a minute because I am just watching the live weather cam of Scotland. Oh my god! Oh my gosh! If you can hear this, I'm sorry I can't show you. Go on to a YouTube channel, Weather Events, that is over up in Scotland, so the website, fiveweather.co.uk. Right now is large comets exposing under the dark, low level cover-up clouds at 5:53 in the afternoon. Today's date, the 25th of the 12th, 2021. Don't they just cover up? And what you did in your videos, oh my goodness me, Seven. It's reflecting red onto the river and the water. It's white, pure white, red, yellow. It's like a rainbow. I don't they like to cover it up? I'm changing the subject slightly. And then there's streaks of like a butterfly effect for the flowers on the other video I'm looking at. Or they're covering it up alright. So shame they packed my phone, because I would have shown you this. Oh my goodness me. So I go back to my video so I know this you can hear what's going to be played with this documentary. You can hear what's going to be played with. Right, go back to the documentary, gotta get something to eat and drink.
The feat of a Nephilim giant depicted in the Bible from the Book of Chronicles, chapter 20, verse 6, quote, "And yet again there was war with Gad, where was a man of
Can right. The demonic entities out there, come get a knife. Right, here you go. 5weather.co.uk. The skies opened up. Oh, the demons. Look, look, look. I don't know if you can see this now. Oh my lord. You see the timestamp. You might not be able to tell the colours, but I can. There's a website. Right, let me. I've got a pen to hand. I'm not on the computer, so. Right, we got the massive comments. I've got the gaslighting perps outside my window. Let me give you a tour of the demons. Hold on. They always gotta send their perps around to harass me. Shoving everything in the bin. There's two females, they're demonic. And the skies are so really dark and low level. Let's go back to the weather. Let's quickly share this and go back to the documentary. This I'll take one away with me. It's getting dark really quickly. It's out of bloody controlled world. So, what are you up to? Anything interesting? I'll bury that. Comet skies in here. What's the time for you, Stephen? I forgot. It's 7. Why do you keep calling you Stephen? I don't know. It's a very different. not natural sunset, obviously, but in dark colour. When it gets cold, it gets dark. Then it gets sunset. I get my next detoxification of the body. Toxicity. There is my cooking noises. Gonna capture this. As I said, it's not Christian, it's not Christmas. It's a false just focusing on the date today. It's not the true birth of Christ. To go and research, I'm just going to talk for a moment, see if I can't show you it right now. True birth of Christ is unknown. Very wondering why. And the pressure on society and people generally is about control. The perception is what they go on. People are not falling for this anymore, are they? And it's good that the people are waking up to the truth. So, observing this. Gotta have some energy. I've got to seem to be able to wake up. We need to. The radiation, 7, have you noticed that? This radiation is wrapped up. The EMF frequencies has been radiating me all night, and they're making me sleep in. The technology affects your body, and so when they do that to me, it makes you really, really, really drowsy. So it takes me hours to wake up properly. Anyone hasn't experienced this technology. It's not just target individuals, it's people worldwide now being affected even more than ever. If they don't know that they always have been targeted by the dark occultists. The fallen angels, the stick of a what Seven talks about anybody on his videos is true. I've got documents, I've got so much evidence for all these years. They've got to single people out that have an awareness. Just be safe out there. Whatever you research, keep offline. If you can get your documents, keep it offline. Because they're going to track everything. So just be careful. They're setting me up in ways I can't even explain it in a severe way again, which they've been doing for years, but it's more intensified. The thought of it is positivity today. Educateyourself.org, go and research if you want who these 13 bloodline families are, the cabal. Why have they been existing for a long time? Why is the body controlled? Geoengineering. It's not just that. Dean Widgerton, this You already might know his website and others. I began my journey of listening and watching weather awareness to Jeff Key YouTube channel, a lot of similar subjects, yeah, inside. And then 2018, suddenly realising the thing with me out. But it's not just me, there's other people around the world now going through what I'm going through. Anyway, I'll come back here and have a look at that video in a minute. Half a day's gone now, but time is not, what is time? Time is pressure, time is not. You go and set your alarm 5 o'clock, and it's just set by, if you want to research, do research this time. So you set up, right now, because it's beautiful bird, the nature knows what's going on with the frequency. Nature knows the birds. There's hardly any bees around here. There's hardly any nature around here. But when you do see it, when you do hear it, treasure, because they're being radiated, like the human body is being radiated. And there isn't any protection around this place, so it's building around it from the 5G frequency as well. It's not just off satellites either, by the way. The Mother Earth has been affected generally by what's been coming from the site. I've seen too much to know what I'm doing. It's right outside my window. Beautiful. Beautiful. Take care. Beautiful. You might not be able to hear it like that. Right, let's go back to the time machine. Yeah, awake in the morning. Let's see what we can see. Right, okay. Oh my god. Right, go turn this light up. Here we go. That dark cloud is dark. How many comments? 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Really? And this is what this is. Is anyone noticing anything wrong with that the live weather cam? Sky's falling down in Scotland here. I'm looking at the live weather cam right now in Scotland. They're covering up the comet's hidden. That man-made low grey level cloud underneath it is white, orange, pink, bit of grey. And there's a bit of red. They're trying to poke through, but like Arga against the grey news to turn all right. I'm going to put the down. My God. Oh my Lord. Here we go again. It's like Seven's videos, what he catches in America. It's like they're getting the sky ready with the light blueness. This is like red. It's like a pair of wings. They're looking at me. That is so unnatural. Okay, we'll go back to the documentary, just checking my battery.
Six-toed carvings showing the feet of a Nephilim giant depicted in the Bible from the Book of Chronicles, chapter 20, verse 6, quote, "And yet again there was war with Gath, where was a man of great stature, whose fingers and toes were 24, 6 on each hand and 6 on each foot, and he was also the son of a giant." Legends from all over the American Southwest speak of giants, 6-fingered, red-haired giants that used to terrorize these people. They speak of evil, cannibalistic giants that would terrorize.
What was that? Sky was like that here earlier. Come back to this lava grey now. Yep, you'll see that, don't you? Dave, is it Dave? D-A-V. Yeah, exactly. I'll go back to it in about 10 minutes. The so-called sunset, not natural. I'll play this in the background.
As the tribes with their hunger for human flesh. These giants are said to have inhabited these areas for thousands of years. Not only do they speak of giants, however, they also mention monstrous creatures that were summoned into the canyon. These creatures were carved into the canyon walls for everyone to see.
Not only did Dr. Mose substantiate the age-old and globally recorded story of those who come through portals and the impact that they have had on biblical and global history, past and present. And not only did he weave Navajo Indian myths and legends seamlessly with our understanding of the 6 days of creation, the arrival of the Nephilim, and their connection to judgment by a global flood, followed by the repopulating of people around the world, and then a second incursion of the giants. But there were several instances in which, when I pushed Dr. Mose for greater detail, he would go off script, actually delineating from the official Navajo storyline to provide greater consistency between history and the way the Bible itself recorded certain events. For example, as Moses was following the official storyline, the one that you would get from the Parks Department in the four corners of the U.S., about how the Anasazi didn't disappear, but rather they slowly migrated out of the area and became the modern Pueblo Indians, I expressed doubts to Dr. Mose about that story. And he responded by grinning just a little bit and saying, well, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but, and then he proceeded to tell us the older stories that his grandfather had repeated about these mysterious people actually disappearing after they came under mind control from a reptile with a halo, this carnivorous creature, suspiciously similar to what I later described in the Path of the Immortals book as fiery seraphim, which comes from the Hebrew seraph, the Hebrew Old Testament fiery serpent.
All throughout Chaco Canyon are these massive circular structures called kivas. The kivas are perfect circles that are built into the earth for the purpose of magic rituals, ceremonies, and religious practices. They were used extensively by the Anasazi, who, according to their own verbal history, used the kivas to summon monstrous creatures into this dimension.
Now, another case in point is when I told Dr. Mose what we had learned from the Apache about cannibalistic giants and then God destroying them in a flood. And he looks right into the camera and he says, "Oh, yes." And then he reaches over and he picks up this illustrated book that he had authored that's used in the Navajo Nation schools and libraries. And he opened to show us an artist depiction of a giant that had stood between 30 and 40 feet tall. And then he starts saying there was this time when the earth was infested with such great giants and alien gods that came down and destroyed and ate the people. Some of them were in human form. Others, he said, were monsters like human animal hybrids, which I think the Old Testament also describes. And then he followed that story with the famous Navajo legend of the White Shell Woman, who gave birth to two of the most important characters in Navajo mythology, the twin miracle performing sons, one of whose names literally translates slayer of alien gods, and his twin brother. And together, those two great warriors killed many of the giants, hybrids, and the monsters that were destroying mankind. As Dr. Mose described these ancient tales, I couldn't help but think of David killing Goliath, and then later other giants with his mighty men. Then there was a point where Mose paused, and he said, "You know, when the Christian missionaries first came to America and told our people their stories of the giants and the great flood, he said, we smiled and let them know that we already knew these stories, that they had been told to us long ago by our own ancestors."
We know that the ancient ones used petroglyphs in order to document their history and events that happened to them. Petroglyphs like this, the spiral. The spiral is found over and over again in almost every ancient culture worldwide. The spiral symbol can be found from the jungles of Peru to the frozen tundras of Siberia. The spiral can be seen as a symbol of a portal, an interdimensional portal used by entities as a transport between worlds. This is evident by the petroglyphs and the stories they tell. Now, let's take a look at some of the petroglyphs we found during our exploration of Chaco Canyon. What we see here are depictions of supernatural creatures coming directly out of the spiral and manifesting themselves in our reality. Over and over again, we see the same imagery carved into the walls. Literal monsters emerging from these spirals, and oftentimes you can see they are still connected to the spiral, and other times they're standing right next to it. You also see images of humans getting sucked into the spiral upside down, and on the other side emerges a monster. This is a common theme throughout the canyon, and these depictions can be found at numerous petroglyph sites in Chaco Canyon, and they all seem to be telling us the same exact story. During our investigation of the canyon, we came across several interesting petroglyphs, depictions of monsters, dragons, gray aliens, and weird-looking beings. But I never found what I was looking for. We searched the entire park for the six-toed footprints of the Nephilim giants. These footprints have been documented numerous times by mainstream publications, yet they're nowhere to be found. I started to wonder.
Kayato.
Maybe they're hiding the footprints. So I decided to stop a park ranger and ask him. The conversation went a little bit like this. Oh, excuse me, sir. Can I ask you a quick question? And the ranger replies, yes, absolutely. What can I help you find? I'm looking for these six-toed footprints that were carved in the canyon wall behind Casa Bonita. Do you know where those are? The ranger says, ah, yes, those footprints. They're located in an off-limits area. Unfortunately, we closed it off to the public. Closed to the public. Makes you wonder what else they have closed off to the public. And as we were about to leave the park, we decided to go and watch the 30-minute video inside the visitor center. And what we saw was shocking. They showed us petroglyphs from inside the park like no other we have ever seen. Perfectly clear images of interdimensional beings with pyramids stacked on top of their head. We walked through the entire park and did not see these petroglyphs. So it made me wonder, where are these petroglyphs and what else are they hiding from us? In 1999, an anthropologist working for the University of Utah published a book entitled Man-Corn: Cannibalism and Violence in the Prehistoric American Southwest. The term man-corn is the literal translation of the Aztec word tiactalui, which refers to a, quote, sacred meal of sacrificed human meat cooked with corn. In Turner's book, they provide evidence of cannibalism in 72 ancient Anasazi sites, including Chaco Canyon. Forensic evaluations of bones found at these sites proves they were cannibalized. But the question is by whom? Who were eating the Anasazi? After the collapse of Chaco Canyon, around 1150 AD, the remaining members of the Anasazi spread out and separated, and moved deep into remote canyons and started building their new dwellings high up on cliff faces or on highly fortified mesas. To archaeologists, it's as if the Anasazi were overtaken by some strange paranoia, hiding from some terrible enemy, but no matter how hard they looked, no enemy was found. Or was it?
And keeping in mind that these legends materialized globally at approximately the same time, it's more likely than not, in my opinion, that the universal story agrees with the record of every major culture of the ancient world in which the astonishingly consistent story is told of gods that descended from heaven and or came through spiral vortices to materialize in bodies of flesh. From Rome to Greece, and before that to Egypt, Persia, Assyria, Babylonia, Sumer, the earliest records of civilization tell of the era when powerful beings known to the Hebrews as watchers, and in the book of Genesis as the B'nai Ha-Elohim, the sons of God, mingled themselves with humans, giving birth to part celestial, part terrestrial hybrids known as Nephilim. The Bible says this happened when men began to increase on earth and daughters were born to them, when the sons of God saw the women's beauty, and they took wives from among them to sire their unusual offspring. I believe a record of this first incursion of hybrid humans and six-toed giants is recorded in Genesis 6:4, when it says there were giants in the earth in those days. That's the first incursion before the flood. And also after that, that is after the flood, the second incursion, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown.
Right, just gotta get some makeup, really. I'm gonna watch this so-called sunset. So called. The world is a changing. Not for the better, I'm not going to leave it. There's a lot of something happening. Look at this demonic skies. So they just hacked into my phone again, have they? Right, checking. Just checking the audio. Right, so we just hacked into my computer. Well, my phone. Just checking. Right. You demons are not going to get your way with me. You just go and do one and stop hacking into me. Right. Excuse me. So we are waking to see what is going on in this demonic weather and on this earth and other subjects too. If you don't a drink, if you don't believe what's going on in the world, then I'll tell you, I'm going to bloody well. Right, what I'm going to show you at this time, at 3:30 in the afternoon, is this controlled weather as well. Fake sunset on top. I've got to turn this light up. The demonic room. I was trying to play that documentary, but they keep happening to me right now. Right. Don't know if this is going to do any justice. So that's meant to be the very dark over Scottish weather can right now. Very controlled, and it's really sort of like you they're trying to poke through the so-called sunset, but it's not natural. It's more that how many suns and comets is there right now. Left hand side of the screen, that's meant to be one. You don't have it spread out like that. There's another one over the hilltops. Anybody out there, do they ever get their camera out and look up in the skies? Wormwood, Planet X system. It's always been in the text of King James Bible version. One can go and look at the Book of Revelations at some point. Right, and now I'm checking over the river. You'll notice how grey the water is because it's the reflections of the excuse me. If this is reflections, it's pasty colours. You don't have the grey right at the bottom as well as the top, and in the middle is a light whitish, yellowish, pink, and then the dark greyish reflections over the water. Timestamp. I can get it. They're desperately hacking everything I'm using today. Wow. This is 5weather.co.uk website, live weather cam. Extra light sources reflecting on the water. So, yeah, just observing. That's just one of many. Right. I'm going to check to see South Devon. If there is. Let me just see what I can see. So many people fall for Christmas. The pagan traditions, each to their own, but unlike many people, I wake up to what's going on in many subjects. And if you believe the mainstream media, no matter what they portray, the conditioning of the mind is like believing the I can't say certain things on here because, you know. Right. Sydney in Australia. Live weather cam. This is like all over the world, it's not just in Scotland. It says summertime in Australia at the moment. Right, so it's meant to be coming to, well, it's a sunset or because they're a day ahead of England's time. Notice this cloud formation. Go away, you perks. I can hear you outside my bloody window, revving your engines. Right. You see how the heart, that controlled over harbour. The techno-notice of perpetrators being paid overtime, gaslighting me outside my bloody window. Strange. Right, let's move this along. This camera. Cast you out of demons in the name of the Lord of Jesus Christ, the Lord our Saviour. Just be observations. Okay, this is obvious, a load of applause. Okay, go back to Scotland. Right, this is not your natural sunset, so there's not going to be much left to see. But just quickly go back to the audio documentary in a minute. Right. Scotland again, left hand side to the corner of the screen. They cover up with a dark cloud. Look how they flash it, sort of like usually goes red. So just observing. You can't see a timestamp on this. That's it, I'll go back to the documentary. This is important to know for the real truth.
Nothing is known about the stones at all. The man what the book remains anonymous. There are some that interpret the messages here as a sign of the end of days. Sign of the end of days.
In the middle of a field in Georgia lies one of America's most mysterious monuments. Today we are here at the Georgia Guidestones, and you've probably heard of it before, but what are they? What do they mean, and who built them? We are here investigating this, so join us for this unique look into the mystery of the Georgia Guidestones. Nobody knows exactly who built them or why. The only clues to its origin are on a nearby plaque on the ground, which reveals the dimensions and explains a series of intricate notches and holes that correspond to the movements of the sun and the stars. Also carved into the Guidestones are a series of commandments that have come to be known as the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist. These commandments appear in 8 of the world's most spoken languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. As well as modern languages, the stones also have 4 ancient languages carved into them: Babylonian in cuneiform script, ancient Greek, Sanskrit, and ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. We know that Babylonian cuneiform was the first written language ever to be used by humans, and would also be the language used by Nimrod during the Tower of Babel incident. Genesis 11:1-9 tells us that the Lord God himself was fed up with what Nimrod was doing at the Tower of Babel. So what did he do? He spread the people all around the world and confused their language. Quote, now, the whole earth spoke one language and used the same words. And as the people journeyed eastward, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they settled there. They said to one another, come, let us make bricks and fire them thoroughly. So they used brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. They said, come, let us build a city for ourselves, and a tower whose top will reach into the heavens. And let us make a name for ourselves, so that we will not be scattered and be dispersed over the surface of the entire earth. Now the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language. This is only the beginning of what they will do. And now no evil thing they imagine they can do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse and mix up their language so that they will not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the surface of the entire earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore the name of the city was Babel, because the Lord confused the language of the entire earth. And from that place the Lord scattered and dispersed them over the surface of all the earth. Basically, the Lord confused and mixed up the language of people, then supernaturally spread them around the world so that the magical information they were working with would become fragmented and dispersed. Now, in my opinion, what the Georgia Guidestones are is a sort of reversal of Genesis 11, as seen through the eyes of the enemy. As believers, we know that the Word of God and the judgments of God can never be reversed, and everything they do in that regard will be in vain. That doesn't stop them from trying, however, and the Georgia Guidestones are nothing more than man's attempt at trying to bypass the creator of the universe. Good luck with that. The true purpose of the Georgia Guidestones is unknown, but what most people agree upon is that the Guidestones are meant to instruct survivors of the apocalypse or a major catastrophic event on how to rebuild society. Written on the stones are what has become known as the 10 Commandments of the Antichrist. Let's read them together. Number 1. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Maintain humanity under 500 million. Well, seeing how the world's population is over 7 billion currently, for this to occur, it would mean over 95% of the world would have to perish. Can you think of any scenarios that would end with this result? I know I sure can. Furthermore, to maintain humanity under 500 million would be in direct opposition to the Word of God, because God instructed us to be fruitful and multiply, not to maintain the world's population at a certain number. Number 2, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. What does this sound like to you? Guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. There was a famous group of people who tried to do this exact same thing. That's right, the Nazis. This is called eugenics, and is precisely what the Nazis did when trying to create their master race. Think about it. Think about what that means. Guide reproduction wisely. That means they want full control over the gene pool. Improving fitness and diversity in the context of DNA and genes, meaning they don't want average people breeding. The peasants will most likely be sterilized to ensure no authorized births will occur. Again, a direct attack on the Word of God. They're trying to be their own gods, putting faith in themselves rather than the Most High. Number 3, unite humanity with a living language. Again, this ties back into the Genesis 11 reversal they're trying to achieve here. The Most High God judged Babylon and scattered the people and forced them to speak unknown and new languages. And this 3rd commandment is exactly the reverse of what happened in Babel. Again, good luck with that. Number 4, rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason. Another blatant attack on the Most High. Passion and tradition, sure, those are of the flesh and they can be put aside. Faith, however, this is what this commandment is targeting. They want people to give up their faith in Jesus Christ and replace it with reason. They attack faith in Jesus Christ because they know those who believe in Him will be untouchable and more powerful than they could ever imagine. Number 5. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Now this one's interesting. Most people might read this and think, well, okay, this one's actually pretty good. But is it really? Let's take a closer look. To protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Okay, on the surface this sounds alright, because we all have an idea of what just and fair is. But what if those who make those rules have a very different idea of just and fair? And it turns out that your just and fair and their just and fair are completely different things. You see, justice and fairness only come from the Lord, and all people are fallen, and all people are sinners. So their sense of justice and fairness can be whatever that specific person wants it to be at the time. Without God's word as our foundation, we are left to our own twisted imaginations. And all you have to do is look at your history books under medieval torture to see what can pass for justice and fairness in an unsaved human's sick mind. Number 6, let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. Again, who is in control of this court? Is it Mr. Antichrist himself? Because it's another case of giving too much power over to a small amount of people. And we all know where that's going to lead us. Number 7, avoid petty laws and useless officials. Petty laws? Useless officials? What is their definition of petty? Is it theft, prostitution, assault? What about murder? You see, when we're left up to our own interpretations, the lines become blurred. Number 8, balance personal rights with social duties. Balance personal rights with social duties. So what? You're only allowed to have rights once you complete your daily tasks?
Welcome to Costco. I love you. Costco, I love you.
No, thank you. We are created as free-willed beings by the Most High, and there is no law or, quote, social duties that can take that away from us. Number 9, prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Prize truth. The question is, whose truth is it? Because we know there are many different versions of the, quote, truth, depending on who you talk to. Here's the thing that most people don't realize. There is only one truth, and that truth is the truth of our King Jesus Christ. Outside of that, nothing can be trusted. The rest of this commandment, prize beauty, love, and seek harmony with the infinite, is nothing more than New Age idealism brought forth by Lucifer in the Garden of Eden. And lastly, number 10, and last, be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature. You see, all this is another example of how godless people worship the creation rather than the Creator. Because they exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Now, there are many more things we can talk about with the Georgia Guidestones. I can go into detail about the astronomical alignments and show you what happens on the spring and summer solstices. I could talk about the man who paid for the Guidestones to be built, or the fact that he used a pseudonym, R.C. Christian. We could look into R.C. Christian and connect dots to the secret society of the Rose Cross, or the Rosicrucians. We could look into the Rosicrucian mysteries and how they are reportedly involved in mind control and brainwashing activities. We could look at their former members and see that a man named Sirhan Sirhan was a member of the Rose Cross and just so happened to also be the assassin of Robert Kennedy. We could examine the location of the Guidestones and see that it's in a location that is considered a safe zone in the event of a nuclear winter, a magnetic pole shift, a meteor strike, or any other global catastrophe. But we are just going to skip all that stuff because this whole thing can be broken down into its most basic components. A group of satanic occultists erected a monument that is designed to last through the apocalypse. This monument is a symbolic attempted reversal of God's judgment in Genesis 11, reuniting the scattered fragments of the Babylonian mystery schools back into one people, one language, and one God, which is Lucifer. These occultists can try all they want, but it won't make a difference. Why? Because they've already been defeated. They're on the losing side. And at this point, their only hope is to turn away from their sins and embrace our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So there you have it, the Georgia Guidestones. What do you think about this place? What's your opinion on the commandments that are carved into the rocks? Do you think these stones were built to withstand the apocalypse? Please leave a comment below and tell the world how you feel about the Guidestones. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit that like button. And until next time, thank you all for watching, and God bless you all.
With Dropbox, your content, tools, and team members are always just a click away.
In order to God gave the feasts to Moses. Let me back up. I'll save that for just a second. When God gave the law to Moses on Mount Sinai, but before he gave him the plans for the tabernacle, he did something interesting. He called Moses and said, okay, you and your brother Aaron, who was the high priest, Aaron's two sons, and the 70 elders of Israel, come up Mount Sinai. And so no one else was allowed near the mountain. Okay, so you touch the mountain and God would smite you. But Aaron, Moses, the 70 elders of Israel climbed the mountain, and this is in Exodus 24. They beheld the God of Israel, and he did not touch them. He did not harm them. They beheld the God of Israel and ate and drank. They had a meal up there on Mount Sinai. The 70 elders of Israel. Now, why did God do that? Because, now wait a minute, how is it possible? We were told that man cannot see the face of God and live. Well, this is where one of the examples in the Old Testament where we see the second power in heaven
we begin to get a picture of the Trinity in the Old Testament. Yes, God the Father in all his glory, when he passed by Moses, who was in the cleft of the rock, could not see his face because it's overwhelming. But God in the flesh, we see the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament in a number of places. That is God in a form that humans can perceive. And he called these men up his holy mountain and had a meal. It was a symbol of what was going to happen. It's a symbol of what's going to happen when we are finally restored to the divine council, when God finally brings us back into the divine council, which we got kicked out of when Adam and Eve disobeyed. But this was a message to the 70, meaning all the gods of the nations. This is what is in store for humanity. You're toast, and you're being replaced. It's like the prodigal son, the parable of the prodigal son. We will someday be welcomed back, covered with pig dung and smelling awful and looking horrible, and God will welcome us with open arms, and that is to be the restoration of humanity to the divine council. His message to the 70 gods, again, representing all the gods of the nations. Now, here's the thing. The Feast of Tabernacles in the fall. I wanted to talk about this in my time today, and without getting another hour, I couldn't get into it. The Spring Festival, this ancient city of Emar, pagan city, sacrificing 70 lambs in the spring, okay, around the time of the Passover, which is when Jesus was sacrificed. And John the Baptist called, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world." Okay? Jesus was the perfect lamb sacrifice. The fall feast, which was the feast, as Rabbi Zev Parat talked about earlier today, the Feast of Tabernacles. When God gave that feast to Moses, he said, okay, here's the plan. It's a 7-day feast, a 7-day festival. On day 1, you sacrifice 13 bulls. Day 2, you sacrifice 12. Day 3, 11, etc. 7 days. Counting down by 1 each day, 70 bulls sacrificed. The bulls. In the ancient world, the bull imagery is connected to these pagan gods over and over again. El, chief god of the Canaanites, called Bull El. Kronos, chief god of the old gods of the Greeks, the Titans. His name comes from a Semitic word meaning horned one. And yet God, giving the feast to Moses, said, okay, here's what Passover, here's what the Feast of Tabernacles represents. Represents God delivering his people from all the other gods of the world, all the other gods of the nations. 70 bulls, the complete set, not one left out. They are sacrificed. God has delivered his people from the pagan gods, all the gods that God allotted to the nations of the world. And as Zeb pointed out, when Jesus came the first day, he was sacrificed as the lamb at Passover in the spring. When he comes back, it's Tabernacles time, where God delivers his people from the gods of the nations. It's beautiful.
That's amazing. It's just mind-blowing. How do you so broken to just kind of fit together like that? Just,
I know.
Culture. Sorry. So it's like most of these, because you're just going through my question. This is better than that.
Sure. Yeah, a lot of what we think we know about Tammuz and Semiramis comes from Alexander Hislop in his book, The Two Babylons, which was written in the 1860s, if I remember correctly. And he meant well, but he had an extra against the Roman Catholic Church. And there's a lot of research that's been done since the 1860s, a lot of texts that have been found that he did not know about, could not know about, because they were still under the sand in Iraq and Syria. Like the text from Garrett, not found until 1928. Some of those not translated until the 1970s, 1980s. So a lot of what we know about that period of history, he was drawing from Herodotus, the Greek historian, whose audience was very open to stuff that made the Orientals, Persians, what was left of the Akkadians and so forth, Babylonians, look bad. Because Herodotus was writing at about the time the Persians were, marching to try to destroy Greece. Herodotus wrote the famous song. Semiramis was probably an Assyrian queen whose name was Shamu-Ramad. She ruled as regent for a while in the late 9th century BC, which would be about 811, 810 BC to about 800 BC. Now, Hislop taught that she was the wife of Nimrod. Nimrod was the king of Uruk. Now, Assyria is northern Iraq, around Mosul and Kirkuk, where the Kurds live. Uruk was down in southeastern Iraq. That's where the Sumerians lived. The Bible calls it Erech, E-R-E-C-H. Uruk, U-R-U-K is what it was. That's how scholars transliterate the name. But today we still call it Iraq. Same name. 5,000 years after Nimrod lived, it's the same name. But there's a period of history that scholars call the Uruk expansion, when that city in southeastern Iraq dominated the entire Fertile Crescent as far north as southern Turkey. They controlled raw materials, trading posts, basically they dominated for almost 1,000 years all of the Fertile Crescent, from the Persian Gulf to the mountains of southern Turkey. Well, Nimrod would have lived somewhere in that period when Uruk essentially dominated the known world. But about 3,100 BC, 3,000 BC, suddenly it all fell apart. It all fell apart. And scholars say, I'm trying to piece this together now. I'm doing some study on this. And I'm not well schooled on it. Yes, let's talk about Nimrod was the kingdom. Something happened. Nimrod, second generation history, as scholars call it, was in southeastern Iraq. Shemu, Syria, which is northern Iraq, the entire Fertile Crescent as far north as Semiramis. Wrong millennium, wrong nations. Tammuz was
This is the this, unfortunately, Dave, is not me. This is their attempts to block me from sharing information. Just ask 7. He knows only too well what goes on. The feedback is not a natural feedback. It is the demonic fallen angels that constantly hack every single device I own. The main internet, computers, everything. Yeah, don't worry if it upsets you. You're obviously welcome to go elsewhere. So this is what they do to make sure that I don't get any information out but the truth about what's going on in the format that one is able to. And this is what goes on. You heard evidence of this. This is demonic attacks, and this is directed, and this is snakes and demonic. So there's a website at the top, educateyourself.org. Look into the 13 bloodline families. Educate yourself, anyone out there that doesn't know already. Yeah, no worries. And especially when you want some peace and time. This is the Nephilims, the end of times, the demonic entities that attack those that are awakened spiritually. And it's not just electronics, okay? And 7, when he does his streams, listen carefully to what he's saying. Because, well, if you want, because the psychological tactics, the advanced technology, the brain interface, the AI is all linked into the hive mind D-wave, and they're using the human brain like a computer, okay? And when you go and research the history, why this is going on in humanity for centuries, why we're in now and the future. So you just heard just the evidence there of the hacking, and this is where they do the jamming. And use specific technology to do that. It's military style. It's not just some idiot doing it. It's military. Okay. So yeah, well, I'll just keep doing what I can, best I can, while this is going on. I'm not going to be stopped by 4 o'clock in the afternoon by you demons out there. Blessings to those that are trying to listen in.
To warm people up to the idea of some space brothers and sisters who are looking out for humanity, but we know that's not true. We know they're fallen angel entities who are intent on deceiving mankind. So what do you think about all that?
The link I'm going to just show it. Okay. So, this is, let me just get it up. Hold on. Just bear with me. Right, look at the date. This is part 102, the best of the end of times. And there's so many people out there. 23rd December 2021. Not just one. If you already know about Seven's YouTube channel, Seven Sporting in America, and I assume that's what you meant about sharing the link, is what I was just trying to play in the background. So there you go. Hope that helps you. You have a blessed day. If you can't stand hearing it with all the screeching, the hacking internet same time, I'm going to try and carry on with this.
To the Greeks. Melkart, who was a god of the city of Tyre around the time of Ahab and Jezebel, which makes the incident on Mount Carmel a lot more interesting, because Melkart, as one of the dying and rising gods, would be in the netherworld for half the year and above the ground for half the year. We know from a text found at the city of Tyre that there was a ritual performed similar to the drink offering, where you pour out water for the god. This is based on an older ritual amongst the Amorite peoples and the Mesopotamians going back at least to about 3000 BC, or well, at least 2000 BC, based on what I've read, where you have to pour out a drink offering and offer food to your dead ancestors, which you summon through a necromancy ritual. They do it every month on the 30th day of the month when the night of no moon.
That's kind of the South one. There's a ritual today where people pour the drink out of the dead. Is that a continuation, you think?
It may well be. In fact, in the ancient world, Mesopotamia was considered so important that the pourer of water was an epithet or a name, a way of describing your heir. You know, your heir, your oldest son, would take over the responsibility for performing this monthly ritual, which is called the Kispum, Kispum. You have to lay out. It's not like kids laying out, cookies and milk for Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. This was a ritual where you had three parts, where you had a communal meal with the family would get together and eat. Then you had the calling of the name, where you call out the names of the ancestors. You know, you have the food sitting out, and then the pouring of water. And so the heir who took over this responsibility would be the pourer of water. If a couple was childless, they would adopt an heir as the pourer of water. In some cases, they would make inheriting the estate of the soon-to-be deceased contingent upon him performing the ritual, because in ancient Mesopotamia it was believed that if your descendants didn't perform the ritual correctly and set out the food and the drink, you would be condemned to eat dust and clay for all eternity. Kind of like what God condemned Satan to when he kicked him out of Eden. You will crawl on your belly eating dust and clay forever. This is why Abraham was so freaked out. He was getting to an old age and he didn't have an heir. And here's an interesting thing. He said, Eleazar of Damascus is going to be my heir. Except that the word translated as Damascus, Ha Damasek, was probably wrong. According to a scholar I read about this ritual, he said it was probably Ben Mesek, which means.
I'll say wrong. Just wondered if you could put links in the comments. I don't know how to do it on the phone. I can do it on the computer, but hacking my computer, excuse me, as well. So they're attacking me quite bad at the moment. So I can only show you what I'm playing at the moment. Sorry about that. Image is blurry, is it? Let me try it again. Bear with me. Right. Need to thumbs up on this. You lost the string. Let me check. If it's my end or your end.
brain interface, the AI, is...
Right, I'll type the name in the chat. Okay, my end, I reckon. Okay, yeah. I found Seven's channel and subscribed to you. Thank you very much. Blessings of you. It's lovely for you to pop in. How's your day been so far yourself? Do you participate in the pagan holidays? Because of traditional methods, you know. Are you yourself a sky watcher? And are you aware basically of the comets, Wormwood, Planet X system, that they cover up, and why we're never going to know the time or date when it's already here in our system, sky systems. And if you don't realise why they've developed this AI technology and the bigger picture to altering human DNA, it's all linked together. Okay, no worries. Yeah, it's to, I can't quote specifics because they might give me a strike. YouTube and might give me a strike. Google Inc. Corporation. So there's a lot of information I'm aware of, but I'm not in a position to go into bits and pieces right now. The NK Ultra in that website streaming, very important to go and check out if you want to, and look at NK Ultra. Right, it's not stopped. The mind. Experimenting on animals first, human individuals next, and the advance of civilization technology now. But you need to look at the history. It's always based on the ancient history. Yeah. And when you're raised in the occult, I was raised in an occult religious type. My late mum didn't know it was linked to Freemasonry. And I got no disrespect to anyone who wants to be a member, but you need to be aware when you become involved and the sacrifices you need to do are not all ordinary sacrifices either. My ex-husband was one many years ago, and he's a master years ago. So he wasn't a very pleasant character. So in my personal life, over the years, been there, done it, got the t-shirt. I've been NK Ultra ever since I was a kid, and 2018 was more Pacific. So when you become enlightened and you go through things and suddenly you have your, it's not really like the third eye. Your awareness is open up, the consciousness is open up. Just be aware of the, so many people are already anyway. Just be careful about the new age. Be careful about the chakras. There's so much disinformation out there. You go down rabbit holes, you come out a few of those, and suddenly you think, what the heck? So humanity's in for a major rough ride. So it's all spiritual. It doesn't feel like it when you're practically everyday life. You know, people are struggling, homeless, starving, trying to fill the void in their lives. People have to turn, they feel, to drink, drugs, addictions, all sorts to cope. Unfortunately, that creates family split up, divides this time of year, the pressure to come together with people you don't get on with that naturally. Or I don't have any family contact because they make sure you get isolated. They lie about you, your character, every Tom, Dick and Harry they lie about you. They falsify your documents online, everything about personal life when you talk to an individual. They will alterate and lie and set you up, and it doesn't stop. Because they have to stop people in their tracks who just are spiritually aware. Yeah, they're putting pressure. The threats of my life is real. There's many people, not just me, around the world. So on that website, you'll find subjects against stalking, what that relates to. Those that participate in it, they sold their souls out to the demonic side of the occult. And what for? Gift cards, money, monetary system. Sadly, they recruit them when people falling down the hard times, end up in prison, for example. They're recruited, yeah. Or say families, whatever reason, have a kid taken off them into care system, and they fall on hard times. And you know what you see in reality, perception of reality is not, as you know, if you've been watching other people's content, obviously, and alternative platforms. The truth is out there, and it's great to see people getting it out there. But the ancient history is so, I mean, I've studied the years AD, BC, Israelites, Lamanites as a child growing up. Yeah. And then not realising what I know now, of course. So when I did get out of the occult, they made my life hell, all my family members. So when I had my own kids, raised them up my own best I could. They're adults now. They make sure, I don't have anything to do with my daughter. Her birthday was yesterday. I don't see my grandkids, well, they're teenagers now. They made sure I got one over. They made sure I don't get my repairs done in my flat. For 4 years now, they made sure I'm getting set up even more on the serious issues going on now, even more than ever. The labels, anyone ever gets any label by the system, don't take it to heart. This is the beast system, okay? And these people are part of the 13 bloodline families in genealogy. So, yeah, I know a lot about this stuff. Been researching for many years. Always seems to be surrounded by the backstabbers. Yeah. Oh my God, tell me about it. So much more to it. Yeah. Yeah, it was an eye opener when I found out my ex-army brother put me into this program. But you see, my late mum, as a child, she was. It's not just her. You know, this is generational. You know, my bloodline family is white witches. The good part, natural healers, empaths, are like Southerners. You know, in America, so many people have that natural ability to heal. Are sensitive characters, are sensitive souls, because it's, you know, we're just born that way. And my late mum and her mum, sadly though, those period of times when it's bankers' wars, you know, you go back in history in that period where my gran was living through the war years, and my mum was separated from her mum, so she was raised in Whitstable through her grandfather, who was a nasty piece of work. What they did to my late mum as a kid. So she, bless her heart, she fell for those people knocking on her door, thinking it's a true Christian faith. And it's not until I, as an adult later, years on, find out the original founder was a Freemason. And all the rituals I took part in growing up was a cult. Yeah, and the aprons, the rituals, everything, the baptism for the dead, everything. I just what? So I made sure, thank goodness I did, that my kids were not going to be part of what I went through, and I left it up to them to decide what they want to do in their lives. Sadly, my adult son is heavily influenced by the technology, by crypto, by Elon Musk, and I'm sending him information to warn him, to help him, for the sake of his daughter, my 5-year-old, granddaughter. And it's like, doesn't want to know. He's falling for the pagan stuff. He never was heavily into that. What he's trying to do, and you can't blame him in a way, he's trying to create memories for his daughter. But he's that generation at his age and my granddaughter's age are going to be the ones having to live through this end of the times in the sense of technology, the control. That my age group, well, I can't mention what they're really doing, because that just get me to the strike. The things I know what on the first hand what's really going on in England, because I've had to research law. I had to do a lot of things to protect my own interests, and sadly, they deliberately cast you out. They cut you off from your friends and family. They isolate you. You think that's going to break you down psychologically. Well, they forgot. I've got a strong mind. I made of stronger stuff, but they really get you at an angle. They think, these demons think, put it this way. If you really do believe that these so-called public servants, politicians, labels, there's men and women with labels, don't have any authority over another, think again. And when you find out who they're connecting the dots, and it's great actually. You go on alternative platforms, and you see so many spiritual. You have to be careful with the internet, because you have to be careful what you're doing, because every single thing is always being tracked. It's not just like general data. It's like MI5, MI6, GHQ, whatever it's called, and then NASA and internationally based as well. There's all just been a Matrix, like the movie. Somebody suggested, didn't they, to watch that new Matrix movie. I shall endeavour to watch it just by intriguement to see the symbolism in that. And I get the break-ins, I get the police informers, I get the drug dealers, all the demonic stuff that they're doing around here. And when you have to be careful what you say, keep a diary offline, dates, times for your own sanity, because they will just mess with you, as you heard, electronically, practically, offline as well. I can't even go into it all because it would be all day, but yeah. And so anyway, the glow screen sucks folks in. Yes, exactly. Yeah, anyway, I will endeavour to play this in the background, but I appreciate it if you can't hear because of the screeching sounds they're doing. But I'm just, my mate's cooking me something, so I'm just got this playing in the background. And yeah, watch out. If anyone doesn't watch mainstream media, but I'm going to play this out. Blessings to you.
Means son of the cup, son who pours out the water. Eliezer will have to be the son of the cup, and he's not even related to me. And then God gives him an heir, Isaac. But Abraham didn't know any better because the concept of Sheol And Abraham's bosom, all of that had not yet been revealed to the prophets. God was teaching Abraham where he was and taking him from there. Now, this hydrophoria, this Yared ritual was known even perhaps as far back as the time of the Watchers on Mount Hermon. A scholar named Edward Lipinski, very famous, they call him Orientalist, specialist in the ancient Near East, did a very important paper about El and the abode of El, the Canaanite creator god, on Mount Hermon. The explorer Sir Charles Warren in 1869 climbed Mount Hermon. In September of 1869, he found an ancient temple dated to the Greek period. So, after Alexander the Great conquered the Levant, a temple with a stone there. It was like 4 feet high, 18 inches wide, 12 inches thick, granite or limestone. And inscribed on it were the words in Greek, "Those who, by the order of the Most High and Holy God, those who swore an oath proceed from here." Now, anyone studying Mount Hermon and the Watchers know who swore an oath on Mount Hermon. These angels who came down on Mount Hermon and said, well, 200 according to the book of Enoch. But again, 70 is a representative number, meaning all the gods of the nations. But these 200 were condemned to Tartarus afterward. Those are the prisoners that Jesus proclaimed to in 1 Peter 3:19. When he was dead in the flesh but alive in spirit, went down and proclaimed to the prisoners.
The Mount Hermon transgressions?
Yeah. The way Dr. Michael Heiser puts it, he says, and I'm paraphrasing what Mike says, but it's like Jesus went down there and said, "Bet you didn't expect to see me here, but here's a newsflash. On the third day, I'm getting out of here, and you're still dead." So, and what the other thing that Sir Charles Warren found on the summit of Hermon is that the summit is scooped out, like it would have been basically excavated to receive these offerings, this Yared, which is based on the same root as the name of the Jordan River. You remember that when you transliterate from Semitic Hebrew to English, the Y becomes a J. It means to come down, to pour out. The Jordan River comes down from Hermon to the Sea of Galilee. So this ritual where you pour out this water may have been performed on the summit of Hermon. And what Edward Lipinski, the scholar, wrote was that Warren also found on the summit this low stone wall that forced you to circumambulate to the summit as you walk up to it, which is similar to the ritual that's been performed down to this day in Mecca, where you have to circumambulate the Kaaba with the Kaaba always on your left. Well, that's exactly how you do it. So Sir Charles Warren in 1869 asked the question, is the practice at the Kaaba, did it originate here? So, interesting. Now, here's the other thing. We know, as I said, that this ritual was performed for the god of Tyre, Melkart, by one of the Roman emperors, I think 2nd century AD, which is long after the confrontation. Think about this. Melkart was the city god of Tyre, the Baal of Tyre, the lord of Tyre, at the time of Ahab and Jezebel, when Elisha confronted the priests of Baal on Mount Carmel. As part of this, he sent a servant down the mountain to get water from a river, to bring it up the mountain, like on Mount Hermon, and poured the water out on top of the city. It wasn't to make it the wood harder to burn. It was to mock this ritual that had been done for this god, Melkart. God reversing the rituals of the pagan gods to make a mockery of them. And then, of course, he used the weapon of the chief god of the Phoenicians and the Canaanites and the Amorites to consume the sacrifice. We think of fire from heaven like a flamethrower. No, he was using a lightning bolt, which was the chief weapon of the storm god, Hadad, who's usually called Baal in the Bible. So, and here's the kicker. Melkart was just the Phoenician name of Hercules. So the priests, so the prophets of Baal who were destroyed on Mount Carmel may well have been priests of Hercules, who was one of the dying and rising gods like Melkart. So the questions that Elijah was taunting his priests with make more sense. Oh, maybe he's sleeping. Oh, okay, maybe it's the wrong time of year. He's in the netherworld. Or maybe he's on a journey. Remember the myth of Hercules, where he had to go perform these labors to redeem himself after killing his wife and children because Herod drove him mad. So maybe he's off, trying to collect, the golden fleece or whatever. I forget what the myth says, but it makes more sense when you understand what they knew back then that we have since forgotten because we don't have the worldview of the prophets and apostles.
Amen. So, was the chief God of the Canaan?
Yeah, the creator God of the Canaan.
Okay, so is there a connection in the Hebrew translations? El is translated as Lord God.
Well, it depends. In some context, it does refer to, right. It became, El became the generic term for God in the Semitic world. Okay. In fact, it became so prominent that some scholars now are convinced that the name of the old god of the Sumerians, Enlil, which they used to believe was based on the Sumerian words En, which means Lord, and Lil, which means wind or ether or something. They're now believing that that's actually just a corruption of the Semitic Il-Ilu, meaning God of gods. That in other words, instead of being a Sumerian god, that Enlil, who was then replaced by Marduk in the Babylonian mythic cosmology, which they just inherited from the Sumerians, more or less, was actually a Semitic god who was brought from the northwest, where we find Dagon, same god, different name. El, same god, different name. Kumarbi of the Hurrians and Hittites, same god, different name. Baal-Hamon of the Phoenicians, same god, different name. Their points of origin all point to northern Syria or southern Turkey. Not far from the mountain where Baal the storm god, was supposed to build his temple, Mount Zephon. So this old god, this El or Il-Ilu, God of gods, this old god, I argue, is actually Kronos of the Greeks, Saturn of the Romans, king of the Titans, who, like the Watchers from Mount Hermon, was condemned to Tartarus. 2 Peter 2:4 says the angels who sinned were thrust down to hell. That's how most English translations read. The Greek word translated hell is actually Tartarus, which means Tartarus, thrust down to Tartarus in the Greek mind. That's a different place from Hades. That's a special level of netherworld prison reserved for the old gods. It's supernatural threats to the divine order. Seriously, Tartarus is a separate level reserved for that is the abyss.
So a human dies without being saved. They go to hell. Yeah. An angel dies, they go to Tartarus.
Well, I don't know if they die per se. I don't know if they will actually die until they're thrown into the lake of fire the second death. But yes, there is a special prison that's reserved for them.
Is that where Henry Gruber
I've not. I've met him a couple times, and I've not heard that story.
Apparently, he was translated down there and saw the pretty amazing stuff.
Well, it's similar to what Enoch reported in the book of First Enoch, with the flaming mountains. Yeah. In the netherworld. Yeah, the mountains in the netherworld that are burning, which relates to the stones of fire that God talked about in Ezekiel 28, the divine rebel maiden who walked amongst the stones of fire.
Are they separate entities, or is that Lucifer disguising himself? Is Lucifer Baal?
Well, I argue that Lucifer is Baal, and it's mainly because of the connections we see in the Bible. In Isaiah 14, Lucifer, which is really kind of a mistranslation. The Hebrew is Halel ben Shachar, which means light bringer, son of the dawn. Shachar was actually a deity in the Canaanite religion, dawn. But when Jerome translated the Bible into the Latin, the Vulgate translation, he used the Roman, or rather the Latin equivalent of light bringer, lux ferus, light bringer. And we English speakers have just sort of adopted that as a personal name, Lucifer. Well, again, it really just means light bringer. But Isaiah 14 says that what he was trying to do was to establish his mount of assembly in the heights of the north, the sides of the north, the uttermost north. There are a few English translations that actually get it right. This actually points back to the mountain that was sacred to the storm god Baal. Or Hadad was his proper name. Baal just means Lord, which sort of became a proper name over time. But it was also considered sacred to the storm gods of the Hurrians, called Tesha, the storm god of the Hittites, called Tarhus, the storm god of the Greeks, called Zeus. Actually fought a major battle there against the god of chaos, Typhon, at Mount Zephon.
Right, chaos going on.
Translated signs in the north heights of the north. The Archete Zephon. It's only used 3 times in the Bible. There, Psalm 48, where Mount Zephon was compared to Mount Zion. It's kind of some wordplay, actually. Har Zephon, Har Zion. But the only other place it's used is Ezekiel 38 and 39. You can tell I don't speak Hebrew. Ezekiel 38 and 39, and Ezekiel identifies that as the place from which Gog of Magog will bring his troops. And he will come from the uttermost north. Yeah, he will come from Yarkate Zephon, Mount Zephon. Now, here's an interesting thing. Baal, the storm god, was the chief god, the king of the gods, considered called a son of El in the Canaanite religion. But he became the king of the gods by defeating the god of death and defeating the god of the sea. Similar to the tension in Greek mythology, by the way, between the storm god Zeus, the god of the sea, Poseidon, and the god of death, Hades. In Canaanite religion, Baal had to defeat the god of death, Mot, and the god of the sea, called Yam, in order to become the king of the gods. The Greeks got their religion from the Canaanites. Well, Amorites, really. But so anyway, that mountain, Mount Zephon, was so important to the Hebrews because it was so important to their neighbors in Canaan that Zephon became the word for the compass point north. In every other Semitic language from the ancient Near East, the word for north is Simol. But in Hebrew, it's Zephon. That's how important that was because of its relationship to that God. So in the New Testament, Jesus, confronted by the Pharisees, says, he's casting out demons by the power of Beelzebul, which means Baal the prince. Baal the prince of demons, I guess. Jesus also, in Revelation 2, in the letter to the church of Pergamum, says, I know where you live. It's where Satan's seat dwells. It's where Satan dwells. Satan's seat in Pergamum. Well, that was the great altar of Zeus, who, like Baal, was a storm god. So, Satan to Jesus, and Jesus, by the way, replying to the Pharisees, connected Beelzebul, Baal the prince, to Satan. So Jesus identified the storm god as Satan. Isaiah 14, storm god Lucifer. So yes, Lucifer is Baal, is Satan. It's all connected. Now, how do we figure out which gods and which cultures are the same from one to another? That, see, how does Shakespeare put it? That may madness lies. They might. We don't know. I am under the opinion that the ancient goddess of sex and war, Ishtar, Inanna, kind of split off her personality by the time of the Bible, because to the Canaanites of Ugarit and the Canaanites who lived around, and by the way, for clarification, Canaanite is just a geographical designation like Babylonian. The Babylonian Empire of Hammurabi the Great was founded by Amorites. They were Amorites. The Canaanites who lived in Canaan, they were Amorites. It's like saying I'm a Chicagoite because I was born there. No, I'm German, Swedish, Welsh, English.
So the Amorites were the ones who lived directly, timeline speaking, it goes
from about 2000, around the year 2000 BC. The Amorites somehow emerged from the period of chaos in the ancient Near East, which is what we would call today Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Israel. The Amorites came out with Amorite kingdoms in control of all of that. Everything from what is Iraq to northern Egypt. In fact, the Israelites were in Egypt. They weren't Egyptian kings. They were under the rule of Amorites. Amorite names. In fact, there was actually a pharaoh during that period whose name was Jacob. Yeah. Yaqub Har, Jacob of the mountain. They don't teach you that. And the gods that they worshipped were Semitic gods. Baal, Astarte, Ishtar, Resheph, the god of plagues and archers and chariot warriors, who, and I didn't even mention this today, it's Apollo of the Greeks and Romans. The gatekeeper of the underworld. Oh yeah, Revelation 9. He's the king of those in the abyss. Opens and lets them out. It's all connected. So the Amorites had this belief. They were the ones who worshipped their ancestors. They were the ones who worshipped the Rephaim and summoned them through necromancy rituals. And God, when he confirmed his covenant with Abraham, said your descendants are going to go to Egypt. They'll come back in the fourth generation, because the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. He tied it to the iniquity of the Amorites. Guess what? The Amorites are also the forefathers of the Phoenicians, of the Arameans, who caused so much trouble after the time of David for Israel and for Judah. The Arabs and the gods of the Amorites who were still worshipped in Arabia into the Christian era, like the moon god, Sin, the war god, and this is what I was getting to with Ishtar and Astarte, split up a male aspect. So during the time of the judges, when Astarte, the goddess of sex, was worshipped, her male aspect, Athtar, the war god, was likewise worshipped. The gods of the Amorites continued to be worshipped in Arabia, and I argue in my forthcoming book that they formed a coalition that emerged from Arabia in the 7th century as a religion that will be the world's largest within the next 50 years.
All right, well, you just answered another one of my questions over there. Zeus is also Zeus is Lucifer. All right, so.
Yes, Zeus is Lucifer and Thor, which is sad because we really like the Thor movies.
Well, you know,
when you're watching Thor on the screen, he's the storm god, which means, okay, well, it's
about those Marvel movies. I used to love those, but something ever since I became Christian,
yeah.
there's just something inside of me. Like,
isn't it interesting the way Hollywood is beating this drum about the return of the Titans? Thanos, the Mad Titan, Sam Worthington, who was in Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans, started a movie last year, went straight to Netflix called The Titan. Yeah, and the new Godzilla movie, where they have rebranded them. They're no longer Mutos, which is what monsters of unusual size or whatever. It was rebranded them as the Titans, the original and rightful rulers of Earth.
And when I saw that trailer, I actually enjoyed the first Godzilla.
Oh, so did I.
I thought it was great. I was the manager of the theater at the time. It was a great time. And when I saw the trailer for the next one, I was excited for like 10 seconds. I was like, wait, what are they trying to do here?
I'm wanting to watch it because I just love me a good monster movie, but yeah, it's also for the programming because again, presenting them as Titans, the original and rightful rulers of the Earth. The Titans are still around. In fact, I argue in my book, The Last Clash of the Titans, that they are somehow still influencing things on this Earth, even though they are currently chained in the abyss. Revelation 9 says they're going to get out for 5.5 months at the end.
When they come back, the Nephilim, spirits of the dead Nephilim come back in end times. Do you believe they're going to be back in their physical bodies as giants, or their spirit bodies possessing humans through a market of these technology?
When the Nephilim return, and we understand that the Nephilim, the spirits of the Nephilim that were destroyed in the days of Noah, in the flood, were barred entrance into the afterlife, into the netherworld, into heaven, basically condemned to roam the earth. That was the belief of the early church. That was the belief of the Jews in the time of Jesus and through all, the Old Testament period. It wasn't until Augustine in about the 5th century that belief went away. He also basically turned the church away from believing that the Nephilim had been created at all. Ezekiel, though, saw it. And this is the thing. God bless people like Kelly Marzulli who've been, teaching this for a long time. He's right. The Nephilim are returning. Where I differ with LA, and I've got to give him credit because without him and his book Nephilim, which was a novel that got me down this path, I wouldn't be here right now. But I think Ezekiel 39 is a clue. But you got to understand the worldview of the prophets to understand what Ezekiel was writing. In Ezekiel 39, he's writing about the culmination of the war of Gog and Magog. And Gog was the Old Testament Antichrist figure. Okay? He is the figure that John in the book of Revelation calls the Antichrist. That is the same war that culminates with the Battle of Armageddon, which is fought for the Har Moed, God's Mount of Assembly, which is Zion, the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Ezekiel says, God said that he will prepare a place in Israel for burial of Magog, the forces of Magog. The Valley of the Travelers east of the sea refers to east of the Dead Sea, and it will block the travelers. The key is understanding that travelers in the Old Testament concept, in the Old Testament world, were spirits that would travel or cross over from one plane of existence to another. In other words, the realm of the dead to the land of the living. And the places where he identifies east of the Dead Sea are places that during the Exodus, the stations of the Exodus, refer to a couple of places that are named for these interactions with the spirit realm. One of the stops in the Exodus, one of the stations of the Exodus is called Ovoth, which means spirits of the dead. It's based on a root word Ov, which means medium. The medium of Endor that Saul went to see was the Ov of Endor. In fact, one of the giants killed by David's men, Ishbi, they condensed the word, Ishbi Benab is how it looks to us in English. Ishbi ben Ov, Ishbi, son of the necromancer, son of the medium, and he was of the descendants of the Rapha, the sons of the Rephaim. The Rephaim were these spirits that the Amorites, the Canaanites, believed were the spirits of the mighty men who were of old, the ancestors of their kings. They were called in Canaanite texts, called by scholars the Rephaim texts, written about the time of the Judges, where these Rephaim were summoned through necromancy rituals to the tabernacle of El, Mount Hermon, where El, they believed, would speak words of revivification to resurrect these spirits that were called warriors of Baal. And in these texts, they're described as warriors. They mount their chariots and they travel first one day and then another. And at dawn of the third day, they arrive to be resurrected. Like Jesus, who went down and preached and proclaimed to the spirits in prison until dawn of the third day, when he arrived, except that he really was resurrected. And Ezekiel 39 says, this is where these travelers will be buried. Another one of the stops on the way. In fact, the mountain where Moses was led by God to get his only view of the Holy Land, the Promised Land, climbed this mountain of the Avarim. In Hebrew, that means travelers. Mount Nebo is the mountain of the travelers. It's right there across from Jericho in the plains of Moab. And that's where this demonic army will fall. Now, I believe that the Nephilim will return. I believe they're going to be the demons who possess a human army. I think by this point, the restrainer will have been removed. The church will be removed. So I pray I'm right, that we won't be here for that day, because that's the day of Armageddon. And when this demonic army comes against Jerusalem to try to claim God's Mount of Assembly, just like Lucifer in Isaiah 14, I will establish my Mount of Assembly on Mount Zaphon, raise himself above the stars, the angels of God. On that day, when God personally takes the battlefield, which Ezekiel describes, the travelers will be destroyed. And interestingly, in that verse in Ezekiel 39, he says, then the world will know I am the Holy One in Israel. That phrase is similar to one that we see in the Old Testament many times. The Holy One of Israel. Ezekiel 39, after he destroys the Antichrist army in the war of the Battle of Armageddon that ends the war of Gog and Magog, he becomes the Holy One in Israel because he's on the battlefield. So yes, that is when, the Nephilim have always been here. If they're the spirits of those who died in the flood 6,000 years ago, they've always been with us, because demons have always been with us. But on that day, they will be inhabiting the bodies of I believe, this army that comes against Israel. It will literally be an army of the evil dead. Like the ultimate zombie. God puts a stop to it. But what does it mean when Ezekiel writes in Ezekiel 39:11? It will block the travelers. The word translated block is only used one other place in the Bible. It's in Deuteronomy, the verse that talks about thou shalt not muzzle an ox when he treads out the grain. Muzzle. I'm not quite sure what that means, but if we take it in context of what Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 15, that we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed, we will be resurrected. Maybe that's what God is saying. I will block the travelers. They're dead, and they are staying dead when the rest of us are resurrected in new glorified bodies.
What is the Black Awakening?
It's related to the red horse prophecy in Revelation. It's related to 2 Thessalonians 2, when it says about the day of the Lord of Perusia, that day will not occur until the apocalypse of the Antichrist and the apostasy, or the word rebellion or revolt. That's all really defined in the...
So that's that. And now, that is the end of Times production. They're hiding the truth about our reality. Right, I'm now going to go on to what they're doing. Bye. Now we're going to go on to. There's an event going on right now. Satan's tricks and traps are all over the place. So apparently there's more protests going on. If one isn't prepared, practically, there's a lot of off-grid preppers. But the fact is, let me go back to what I caught a glimpse of. Apart from the way the weather is. Yeah, The Hidden Truth, the full documentary was in the middle of playing, so I won't do that right now, but let me just catch up. So, Yellow Vest takes to the streets in Paris again against France's President Macron's policies. Not sure what, but let's have a look. This is showing us. Don't have that. Wow. First of all, let me have a read. On Saturday, today's date, to protest against, let's have a look, about the, you know what's going on still. So, despite people doing the pagan holidays, it's still kicking off in France. Oh, for help, you know what, claim requirements. So, yes, let's have a listen in. Through the end of time. Wow. Plenty of emergency services sirens today. Well, which is my, yeah. Was that side effect of you know what? Or was that a part of their gaslighting tactics? I usually get all that around here with all that, not constantly, but depending what time of day. And they're deliberately, it's like fire engines, police cars, sirens, you know. But the way they do it, as soon as they pass my place, they turn them off. It's gaslighting. But if they're constantly doing it past your area on a regular basis, it could be side effects. Did you say you're West Yorkshire, North Yorkshire? Could it be that certain people are having certain side effects or certain, you know what? Let's do this, what we're doing in France. Could be. Here we go. Oops, where was I? Raining in France, Paris. Purple sky. The acid rain I can see, and the purple skies. I caught that in my area the other day. The nanoparticulates coming down in the rain. what was that? A gateway to the Dales, a small market town. Yeah, okay. So have you got, is there many elderly people? Well, I wouldn't say elderly, I'll say sort of age group from about 55 plus in that area in the Dales, in the village sort of area. I don't know the area, just basically from somebody I've known that used to live up that way. Not quite in that location, but I've heard from alternative platforms. People are prone to take the you know what. They may not be awakened to realise the side effects of a certain thing, you know, and they could be prone to negative side effects. But it's just like anywhere, you could have it in the very certain meant to be wealthy areas in South Devon, Cornwall, shall we say Norfolk area, Cotswolds area in England maybe, who knows. But when I listen into the alternative platforms, Telegram app, and then you go into that, there's loads of different groups, and powers up, they do not like that, but people literally sharing the worldwide their experiences, what's really going on in the areas, and people, whether they've taken the you know what and soon realise what's happening to them and their loved ones, and other stuff which I can't comment on, not on here anyway. Well, I could, but you know what they do if I try again. The French have got good strategies. You got the drums playing. Civil unrest is coming very soon. A lot of police vans in the background. Let's move on a bit. Oh, look at the march of the Gestapo, the peace officers. They're marching into the band. Oh, it's ridiculous. It's like a new world order controlled UN army, isn't it? They're wearing masks outside as well. I've already had the theory with that. It also could be with the iron oxide effects in the atmosphere. Also, you know, all this could be just a one big distraction because of the rumored the effects on the earth and the atmosphere. And then you've got the radiation, you know, the ringing news, effects on the body, human body, the natural cells of the biologically of the body as well. And then all this worldwide could be just one massive distraction with the reset financially, as well as what the incoming planets are. And a lot of these comets are already here above the atmosphere. It's like Argo and this tunnel, which Seven follows as well, using Parousia. Let's move on with this. These lights also, they're 5G. These smart lights I noticed in my area, and they got some of these in France. I've seen them in our weather cams. They're like the sun stimulator projection. So why don't you got their big church in the background? Wow. It is not a crucifix, a cross. So you got the police officers blocking them going up the steps. Don't know what part of Paris this is. Feels like a Sunday, not a Saturday. Well. I still turned out the Saturday despite some of them may celebrate this pagan holidays. Okay. I'm going to put Salavi, the French are out on the streets again. Good on them. Rising up to the tyranny, to dictation, domination. They're going to get away from it, aren't they? They're good. should be back in a second. Let's go put this on charge. So really just feels like a Sunday. But let's put this back on. Be too quiet. Amazing. So moderators, placard and who on the show. I tell you. Just got to plug in. What was that? I've been using masking tape, but it keeps wearing out. Keep pulling it on and off when I need to take a photo. You know exactly how they take photos, don't you? Using the camera on your, whether it's a laptop, computer, phone, they're taking pictures. If you don't cover up every sort of like, I don't know if someone's aware that his data is being shared all over the place, all over his brothers. But he needs to be aware about his security and how future that information, what they're going to do with it. Right, just going to put this back. For anybody, because it's all about data mining. It's not data sharing, it's data mining. It's going to make a note of it. It's like, it sounds, it's too eerie, quiet, you know, it's never this quiet around here. It seems like a bloody Sunday, you know. Well, it's never really that quiet, but it's ridiculous. Anyway. it's like it's like the I don't even need to look outside because the sky's like purple. It's all controlled. None of the people. Yeah, you can't see nothing. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You just like they deliberately have made sure the weather's controlled. Nobody can see anything out. It's obvious. Well, to me, it's manipulation. They control the weather before out the big. I never believe in mainstream weather forecasts anyway. Right, let's just keep on. Yeah, you get the mainstream control narrative out there, but I can't play alternative media on this platform because it's a lot more interesting. But I could do Ted Hudson, FBI, who exposes what's been going on for a long time. Anyway, for now, I'll go into my channel. It's night and it's time. No, it's not. I thought you were right then. It's me. You're right. Show how they have to interpret and monitor things. Do things meant to be like certain subjects. It's just demonic. Book of Enoch and the demonic humans. What they say about right. No, why do they call this? It's not Christmas Day. It's pagan. Right. Why do they call it? I've got a delay going on there, isn't it? Educate yourself good all. Open your mindset, people. Right, let's get into it. The end of times, 2055 and 21, not as if two girls are Christ, it's pagan. Awake to truth in the book of Enoch, the demons learn the evidence. Also, looking to educate yourself the rules. Other transhumanism technology, AI, and it's meant to say, change the human DNA. History, it's meant to say 13 bloodline families. In the where, it's meant to say linked into Freemasonry. The false sun as well controls food. It's meant to say GMM. GOM, not go. Oh, see, they're controlling what I'm trying to type earlier. To the big pharmaceutical industry claim. To false information to date inside. So the heading really of the description you think sounds and makes much sense because I was half asleep when I typed it. Anyway. UK working world. I'm trying to make sure that it's on the right account. It's a long weekend, really. Think about it. The way it's all set up. It's like the way it's all set up in England, anyway. That's all. You got Saturday, Sunday, Bank Holiday, Monday. Right. That church I've got in my picture on YouTube channel is the Freemason church, the well-known. That church I've got in my picture on YouTube channel is the Freemason church, the well-known. That church I've got in my picture on YouTube channel is the Freemason church, the well-known. Wow, this desperately happening. I know. I keep hacking it. Right, I keep hacking me. Is your microphone face down in the cushion? No, it's not. It's the hacking my computer. The hack my phone. It's just what I get all the time. So it's not my end. They just keep messing about. Is my microphone face down or in the cushion or something? No, because you can hardly hear me. It sounds muffled. Christmas dinner calories. Yeah, more sirens now, is there? Really hell. Yeah, copying out the microphone. I'm just trying to get into this channel. Multitasking. My phone is getting overcharged. It's where it's hacked. As I said earlier, everything I own is being hacked into. How would that be? Don't like people sharing the facts. You ever sort of consider the idea that this whole lockdown business worldwide is bigger picture to it all? There's a lot more going on. I've got a gut feeling it's not just based on, you know what, because I've seen so much in these guys, more of the frequencies. The frequencies are so intensified around here, the scalar waves, etc., as well, and the microwaves. Yeah, so I'm gonna see what get into my channel. There's a lot of distractions around to take off on what's going on. And as someone said before, one of his videos, you know, they're never going to tell us what's really going on in this above us. And all this hints of these old disaster movies, the comets, etc. It's all these hints, in my opinion anyway, hints in movies as well, disaster movies, like the pole shift. Yeah, so when I restart the stream, it's like I restart it and it gets constantly hacked. I'm sure I get confident to share this. I don't know. I don't know what's that. NO something like. Yeah, let's just go on to that and see on this phone. Pick up channel. Yeah, no content either. We'll block you. No content either. Block you. I don't have trolls in my stream, thank you. I don't have trolls in my stream. Right, let's check on my stream a short while ago. See how it hacked into me there. Right, earlier, a hidden hand of demons runs the earth. Use science and technology and weather to also use advanced technologies of the targeted program. Cover up the truth and plan extra system with toxic skies and money. And the real birth of Christ is not 25th of 12, 2021. Pagan holidays is past the foreign ones. And I was playing a stream of somebody sharing some truth of the monetary system earlier. That was that one, which I fell asleep doing it earlier. Matrix AI, transhumanism subject. And then the other one was subject, mind control, Freemasonry, links past, occult. It's meant to say 13 bloodlines, not 23. Just change that. Number 13. And while there is 13 number. I can hear the frequencies ring in the ears. The ring in the ears are very strong. Right. Right. To GMO, let's just change that. Sorry, if anyone's actually looked into the website. Let's just listen to the audio of this. See what it sounds like your end and here. And here. Right, see where the hacking, let's go back a bit on it. Just testing it out now. By Elon Musk. And I'm sending them information.
Which relates to the stones of fire that talk about in Ezekiel 28. The divine rebel will need to walk among stones of fire. Are they separate entities, or is that technology? About the time of the judges, where these Rephaim were summoned of the Antichrist, and the opposites of the word rebellion or revolt. That's all.
Telegram app, and then you go into that through. Yeah, it's not great. You're wearing mask outside. As well, disaster movies. Okay. Number 13. My God, see how they're monitoring what you're saying, what you do. Verify playback is not by people that are interested in the subject in hand. The Book of Enoch, demons. You mentioned that subject, the demonic entities out there. I'm aware who you are, and they've got to attack the guard tree in your DNA. Right. Let's just go see Stephen 7. Let's see what the night sky looks like. Very dark and purple. Let's have a look at South Devon.
It was designed to improve brushing. It ended up changing everything.
Smart technology. Oh my goodness me, look at the reflection of these lights. What do certain people say about the effects of a phenomena of these abnormalities in the light systems? That's a live camera. It's raining. Acid rain. The night projection of the weather counts. Projection in the atmosphere. It's like webs and reflections on the street. I can't see anyone else in the chat. Are you talking to me? I'm just sharing what I'm seeing, yeah. I'm just sharing whoever faces back as well. That's what I do. I'm just showing that where they monitor what your content is. It's not just about playing back videos. There's two watching. Okay, just gotta be aware of who's in the chat, who's monitoring you when you're targeted. There's 37 headbats now. You're confused. If you don't know what targeted individual subject is about, you might want to look at that website. Or you might just want to look at my videos to evidence what's going on. So my content is focusing a bit mix of information. It's not just about the weather, it's about real life. Okay, let's go on. Hey, I'm confused.com too sometimes, but it's not by my choice. Don't forget we're in a spiritual war. I'm not like other people, don't put more face on camera. 3 hours now. Okay. So I should miss doing something positive. Lies target individuals. There's another girl in Ireland, she's targeted.
I don't know how to do it. Where do you turn it on?
It's on.
Alright. Oh my goodness.
Even if it's just bug spray.
Oh Lord. Have mercy.
This is heavy.
Stop the madness. I know that's that ghetto rapping.
I already know what it is.
Ghetto rapping. That's that ghetto rapping. She's like that ghetto rapping, okay? Why are you going to have me feel this ghetto rapping?
I knew what it was. Oh. All right.
How do you think I felt? Carry that motherfucker. Carry that motherfucker. How do you think I felt?
This is awesome. I need one. Oh, I needed one desperately.
Being one on. Stop being.
You're not even have to open this for me. I'm not strong enough.
Right.
Right on. Thank you. Awesome. You know what? Ooh.
I'm warning out there as well. You've got to be careful about witches and Chinese live chat and target individuals.
Alright, y'all, we're gonna hop out. I'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Okay, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.
Pleasure.
Thank you guys.
Are you still gonna be on the channel?
Check out some of your videos. Hello.
freedom fighter. I've watched a lot of your videos. Take it to those motherfuckers because they deserve it. And Merry Christmas to you, sir, over there across the pond.
It's not Christmas, it's pagan.
Hey Scott, is there any other day that they let off up on you?
What's that?
Is there a day like they ever let off up on you?
Oh no, not for almost 4 years now. It's continuous. While you sleep, while you're
how do you deal with it?
It's the Antichrist.
How do I? You mean the constant stress of it?
Yeah, because I know it can get to you.
You just have to, I guess, bring yourself to the understanding that it's beyond your control because it's an outside source, and you can't control stupid people or groups. And some days it's hard, like you're talking to somebody and they're constantly trying to distract you with stuff about talking on the phone or whatever. You just I guess try to let them blather on and just not think about what they're saying.
Do you take anything to help you go to sleep?
Oh, all the time. The last week or so, they haven't let me sleep at all. And the second I go to the hospital, screaming, and the second I go to the all those looking shit like that, and it's just all day.
Dang, I'm sorry to hear that.
Ain't nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, that's true. Do you know any ways to combat the remote knowledge?
The only thing I've found with the remote neural monitoring, how they're trying to, like give you social cues and sustain you to thinking about a certain thing, is just always think random shit. Don't try to focus on any one thing because that gives them a clear picture of what you're thinking. So, like when you're meditating, if you meditate at all, I noticed that when I'm meditating or have meditated, that focuses your thought pattern and they're able to get a clear picture on you, and they're able to push it on you more. I found that just spontaneous thinking, random thoughts, and not trying to dwell on what they're saying helps a lot.
Alright, I'll try to think of random thoughts. It just be so hard sometimes. I need to start thinking about something.
Just anything. Not try to concentrating. I mean, on just like really hardcore focused. It tends to, like I said, give them a clear picture of your thought process, and they're able to stop looking. That's just my personal opinion. It works.
Do you think what they can see is like high definition? Like, so when they look through our eyes, it's like I'm saying, so once they like look through our eyes, I think they're seeing like HD resolution, as if they was us. Do you think it's kind of like word?
You kind of cut out on me there. What were you saying?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, do you think when they look through our eyes, is it like a high definition picture, or is it like blurry?
I'm not sure what they're looking at on their graphical interface with their BCI. I've noticed that even if I glance at something, they notice it and they talk about it.
Right, I'll do part 2 later.
Like if you're watching a television show or whatever, and you glance off